What you are about to hear is not a movie. This is not a simulation. This is real. This is happening right now. Today, February 28, 2026, the world woke up to one of the most shocking and historic military events in modern history. The United States of America and the State of Israel have launched a massive, coordinated military attack on Iran. Explosions are rocking Tehran. Missiles are flying. Sirens are blaring across the Middle East. And the world is holding its breath. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to give you everything. Every detail, every development, every piece of breaking information as it comes in. Stay with me, because this story is changing by the minute. Let's begin with what happened in the early hours of this morning. The United States and Israel launched an attack on Iran, with explosions heard and seen across Tehran. Several missiles struck University Street and the Jamhuri area in Tehran, according to Iran's Fars news agency. Smoke was seen rising over the city, captured by an Al Jazeera correspondent on the ground. And it didn't stop in Tehran. In addition to the capital, the cities of Isfahan, Qom, Karaj, and Kermanshah were targeted. NPR. This was not a single targeted strike. This was a nationwide bombardment across multiple Iranian cities simultaneously. Among the targets was a district in Tehran where Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei normally resides, home to the Presidential Palace and the National Security Council. 7 missiles have been confirmed to strike this area. Let that sink in. 7 missiles on the Supreme Leader's district. This is not a warning shot. This is an all-out military campaign. Iran's internet has been almost completely cut off. Internet monitoring group NetBlocks confirmed that national connectivity in Iran dropped to just 4% of ordinary levels, a near-total internet blackout, matching measures used during last year's war with Israel. The Iranian people are now largely cut off from the outside world. This joint military campaign has 2 names, one from each side. The joint attack has been codenamed Operation Shield of Judah. But from Israel's side, Prime Minister Netanyahu referred to the operation in his address as Operation Lion's Roar, calling on Israeli citizens to follow the instructions of the Home Front Command and show patience and inner strength in the coming days. 2 names, 1 massive operation. And this is only day 1. Now let's talk about what President Trump said, because his words this morning were extraordinary. Trump confirmed the operation in a video message saying, "A short time ago, the U.S. military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime." He also spoke directly to the Iranian people, urging them to rise up. He told Iranians, "Take over your government," and added that the lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. That is a sitting U.S. president acknowledging on camera that American soldiers may die in this conflict. That is how serious this is. Trump also stated during a news briefing on February 27th that the Islamic Republic had killed at least 32,000 protesters, pointing to Iran's violent crackdown on massive nationwide protests that began in December 2025. So Trump is framing this not just as a nuclear issue, but as a humanitarian intervention, a liberation of the Iranian people. Whether you believe that framing or not, that is the message coming out of Washington right now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also addressed the world this morning, and he didn't hold back. Netanyahu said, "My brothers and sisters, citizens of Israel, a short while ago, Israel and the United States launched an operation to remove the existential threat posed by the terror regime in Iran." He invoked decades of history. For 47 years, the Ayatollah regime has called out death to Israel and death to America. It has shed our blood, murdered many Americans, and massacred its own people, he said. And then came perhaps the most explosive part of his speech, the call for regime change. Netanyahu called on all parts of the Iranian people to cast off the yoke of tyranny and bring about a free and peaceful Iran, saying, "Our joint action will create the conditions for the brave Iranian people to take their destiny into their own hands." He specifically named ethnic groups, Persians, Kurds, Azeris, Baloch, and Ahwazi, calling on all of them to rise up. This is an open public call for regime change in Iran, something that would have been unthinkable just months ago. Netanyahu also warned, this murderous terror regime must not be allowed to arm itself with nuclear weapons that would enable it to threaten all of humanity. The nuclear threat is at the heart of this operation. Iran has been moving closer and closer to a nuclear weapon, and the US and Israel appear to have decided they will not allow that to happen. Now here is where things get truly alarming. Because Iran is not staying quiet. Iran's Revolutionary Guards announced the launch of a first large-scale wave of retaliatory missile and drone strikes toward Israel. Sirens sounded across northern Israel at approximately 10 a.m., and then across central Israel, including Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, at approximately 10:30 a.m. as Iranian missile launches were detected. Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, under missile fire. Right now. The IDF confirmed it had detected another launch of ballistic missiles from Iran and instructed Israelis who receive an alert to immediately enter bomb shelters. And Iran's response doesn't stop at Israel. Bahrain's Interior Ministry activated air raid sirens warning of an Iranian attack on U.S. military bases in the Gulf state. Arabic media reported explosions in Bahrain's capital, Manama. There are reports of multiple explosions in Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar, all of which host U.S. military bases. Iran is hitting back, not just at Israel, but at American military infrastructure across the entire Gulf region. The Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen have also decided to resume missile and drone attacks on shipping routes and on Israel in support of Iran. This is a multi-front war now. Iran is activating its proxies, the Houthis in Yemen, potentially Hezbollah in Lebanon, to open as many fronts as possible. Let's talk about what this means for ordinary people. U.S. embassies in Israel, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates posted on social media telling staffers to shelter in place and recommending all Americans in those countries to do the same until further notice. Airlines immediately began rerouting flights following the start of the attacks. German carrier Lufthansa suspended flights to and from Tel Aviv, Beirut, and Oman until March 7th. Dutch airline KLM canceled its flights to Tel Aviv from Amsterdam. The Israeli Ministry of Health has taken a dramatic step. They have moved hospitals underground preparing for the worst. Israel has also closed its airspace, and New York Times reported that schools, workspaces, and public gatherings have been closed across the country. Israel is essentially in wartime lockdown. And in Iran, beyond the military targets, the human toll is unknown. With internet connectivity down to 4%, the Iranian people are cut off from the world. Al Jazeera. We don't know how many civilians have been affected. We don't know the full extent of the damage, and that is deeply alarming. Now, for those asking, how did we get to this point? Let me give you the background. This did not happen overnight. There has been a long build-up to this moment. Beginning in December 2025, nationwide anti-regime protests erupted in Iran, triggered by economic crisis, the collapse of the Iranian rial, and rising prices. The protests, which included calls for regime change, became the largest since the 1979 revolution, spreading to over 100 cities across the country. The Iranian regime responded with violent repression, including massacres of protesters. On February 13, 2026, Trump stated publicly that regime change in Iran would be the best thing that could happen. A day later, U.S. officials told Reuters that the military was preparing for weeks-long sustained operations against Iran, not just a limited strike. And then came the diplomatic side. Just one day before these strikes began, Iran and the U.S. were involved in indirect nuclear talks in Geneva, Switzerland. Iranian state media pointed out that this is the second time Iran has been attacked in the midst of talks with the U.S., after the 12-day conflict with Israel in June last year, which also ended with U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. A senior Middle East diplomat reacted with fury, saying that, yet again, when negotiations get close to success, Israel has intervened to preempt diplomacy. So the question of whether diplomacy was killed by these strikes, or whether this was always inevitable, is already being debated around the world. The world is watching, and reactions are pouring in from every direction. In the United States, political support from Trump's allies was immediate. Senator Lindsey Graham called the operation necessary and long justified, writing, "The end of the largest state sponsor of terrorism is upon us. God bless President Trump, our military, and our allies in Israel." But not everyone is celebrating. Many world leaders and diplomats are deeply alarmed. The timing, just one day after nuclear talks, has raised serious questions about whether military action was the right path. CNN noted that the timing of the attacks is also symbolically meaningful in Judaism, as they were launched ahead of the upcoming Jewish holiday of Purim CNN, a holiday that celebrates the survival of the Jewish people from a Persian king's plot to destroy them. Some see that symbolism as deliberate. Iran has vowed that this will not go unanswered. Hardline Iranian parliamentarian Ala Eddin Borojerdi declared there will be no red lines in Iran's response to the attack. This isn't just a military story. This is an economic story, too. Oil prices have been climbing to 6-month highs as energy market participants closely monitor the escalating geopolitical tensions. Iran is a founding member of OPEC and a major oil producer. Critically, it sits at the heart of the Strait of Hormuz, through which approximately 20% of the world's oil passes. If Iran chooses to close or disrupt the Strait of Hormuz in retaliation, global oil prices could skyrocket overnight. We're talking potential fuel shortages, economic shockwaves, and consequences felt by ordinary people in every country on Earth. This is one of the most strategically important waterways in the world, and it is right in the middle of this conflict zone. So where does this go from here? Let's be real. Nobody knows for certain. But here is what we do know. U.S. officials have told NBC News that the military action in Iran could last for several days, with Trump vowing to eliminate any nuclear threat. Iran has already launched retaliatory strikes on Israel and U.S. bases in the Gulf. The Houthis have re-entered the picture. The entire Middle East is now a war zone. Israel has declared a nationwide state of emergency. Iran's internet is dark. Airlines are rerouting. Embassies are sheltering. Hospitals are underground. And a U.S. president has acknowledged on camera that American soldiers may lose their lives. This is not a skirmish. This is not a limited strike. This could be the beginning of a full-scale regional or even global war. The coming hours and days will define what kind of world we live in. Will Iran's regime survive? Will there be a ceasefire? Will other nations get involved? Will nuclear sites be destroyed? Will oil markets collapse? Will the Iranian people rise up? These are the questions that will define the next chapter of history. And we will be here to bring you every update as it happens. Friends, what is happening right now in the Middle East is history in real time. Whatever your politics, whatever your view on the rights and wrongs of this, the sheer scale of what is unfolding is unprecedented in our lifetime. We are watching the United States of America engage in open military combat with Iran, a country of 90 million people, a nuclear threshold state, a regional superpower with allies and proxies across the Middle East. Stay tuned to this channel. We will be bringing you continuous updates throughout the day and into the night. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this video because people need to know what is happening right now. This is one of those moments where history turns, and we are all witnesses. I'll be back with an update very shortly. Stay safe, wherever you are in the world.